Come on in, everyone. Come on in because we are here for Married at First Sight, Season 18, Episode 7, and they are calling this Basement Blues. Basement Blues, and I'm going to retitle it Interracial Relationships. I'm offended. I'm definitely offended, Camille. Camille, where are you? Are you out there, Camille? I don't want to let you know I'm offended, and you didn't even say it to me. But to tell this camera, this audience, Dr. Pepper, Pastor Cal, Dr. Peel, whoever you was talking to, your sister, that you feel like you were in an interracial relationship was offensive. It was offensive. It was offensive on so many levels, Camille. First of all, I'm going to tell you what. If you're a black person and someone tells you it's almost like you're in an interracial relationship, that's like calling you white. Well, let me tell you something. When I'm walking down the street, no one don't call me white. They know I'm a black man. When Thomas is walking down the street, he may be biracial, but everyone would know that he's a black man. On the other hand, Camille, when you walk down the street, I'm not so sure they would know you're black. They might think you're Latina. Be honest with you. To really be honest with you. And this whole thing around swag, when was the last time we saw Camille in a swag-alicious outfit? A fit. When? She all up in his closet. We need to get up in yours. We have never seen nothing. Nothing. You know, Thomas was on the after party. And guess what, y'all? Thomas got 2 diamond studs in his ears right now. Thomas said, let me go on out of here and get me some swag so this girl can shut up. Let me get some swag so she can shut the hell up. So now he is sporting 2 big old diamond earrings in both his ears. But Camille, I'm offended. I'm offended. You're not protecting your husband, Camille. You want to be protected. You want a safe space. You've created a dangerous space, an unsafe space for your husband. You need to stop this real quick. A lot of you last week hopped down in my comments and told me something you think Camille is doing, and I'm actually going to agree with y'all. Y'all brought me the idea that I had already said I knew this was some sort of projection with Camille. Like, what are you doing? Did you get bullied? Did you get talked about for being light-skinned, high yellow? Is this what people did to you? Told you you're not really black, and now the person who was bullied becomes the bully? But a lot of you dropped down in my comments and explained that what you think is going on with Camille is that she likes men to be her black card, right? So she already knows that when she goes out into the black community, some people may not look at her as completely black, okay? And as a result, she probably likes a more chocolate skin, dark man because that kind of gives her a little bit more clout in the black community. This is what y'all told me, and I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe it. I'm starting to believe that one of the fears of Camille is that she's going to have a real light-skinned babies that may not even look black. Think about it. They're both biracial. Their babies could easily come out looking white. If they take the white side from each of them, that baby can come out looking like a white man or a white woman easily. And Camille is scared to death over it. She's scared to death because I think she has always wanted to fit into the black community, and Thomas is almost taking her one step out of the black community. Imagine all your life fighting to fit into the black community because people wouldn't necessarily accept you at face value because of your skin color or the fact that you're biracial or maybe where you grew up. You know, on the after party, she said she went to a culturally diverse high school as opposed to Thomas went to a high school where they only had a handful of blacks. But even if you were in a culturally diverse high school, Camille, it doesn't necessarily mean that the black community completely embraced you, right? She's trying to pretend like she was completely embraced, but there could be a good chance she was also rejected in some way, some fashion. And maybe her card into it, entrenched in it, was to really, you know, have this more pronounced blackness on the inside because her outside was somewhat, I don't know, rejected. I'm going with a theory, y'all. I'm really going with a theory. And now all of a sudden she's projecting on Thomas because she's really mad at Thomas. All this work I've done to fit into the black community, right? Wear my hair natural. Somebody told me she has a natural hair skincare line. You know, listen to black music. Go to black places because she's talking about the places that Thomas likes to go are not black places. That's what she was saying. the places he goes to, the foods he eats, the things he does, it's not black enough for Camille. So she said, I done all these things. Camille, what I want to know, Camille, is what did you have for Thanksgiving? Did you have any mac and cheese made from scratch? Okay, did you have any yams without no marshmallows on top? Did you make some cornbread dressing? Not no stuffing. And please don't tell me you put it inside the turkey. Did you have any greens? I want to know what this immersion into the black community looks like. Camille, I need to know, because right now you're judging Thomas. I would never ask these questions ordinarily because, hey, to me, you're a sister. Okay, that's fine. You're my sister. I'm your sister. But when you a gatekeeper for the black community and you are now telling which black people can get in and which black people can get out, who can't get in and who you're going to kick out and who you got to take a swag card from, then I need to know your credentials. I need to know what qualifies you to judge Thomas. Because if I just look at you at face value, I'm like, you're not in a position to judge him. So I'm offended. I'm really offended over telling another black man, that especially who's also of a light complexion like you, that you feel like you on an interracial dating. Girl. All because what? He don't go to no R&B brunch. What? What are you talking about? But there goes my introductory rant, so I can get it off my chest. But we're going to start with them. Since I already started with them, we might as well continue talking about them and what happened during the episode. But this was an episode when everyone's going to go get to see each other's apartments, and she goes to Thomas's apartment. And I mean, his apartment is basic, a bachelor pad. It's clean, it's neat, it's whatever. It ain't got no, nice elements to it, but who cares? That's what a woman's for. A woman's there to make a home, make a house a home. So I don't even know why these women be complaining about men's houses not completely decorated. Well, then you decorate it. Shoot. You decorate it. You bring your touch in. Stop complaining. But then she goes over here and she looks into his closet and she says she's happy to see that he's got some Jordans in the closet, some J's. First of all, are the young people still wearing J's, or have they moved on? I mean, I know Jordans are always going to be a staple in the wardrobe. You always got to have a couple of Jordans. But I mean, I don't know. I think a lot of the young people moved on to other swag tennis shoes. So the fact that she's still talking about J's alone tells me I don't even know if you up to date. I don't even know if you up to date, Camille. I really don't know. And then another offensive remark she made was, oh, my husband was in 5th place for the swag, but he's moving up to 4th. Wait a minute. Wait one doggone minute, Camille. So when you say 5th place, you mean 5th place amongst the couples? So you have put your husband's swag behind David's, who lives in a basement. You've put his swag behind Allen, who we know, I love Allen, but he's definitely goofy. You put it behind Ikeji with his fake poetry and his fake poems. And you put it behind Juan, who's broke with a bald head. And come on now. Come on now. Come on now. 5th place. 5th place, that's where you put your man, and said, well, at least because he's got a couple of Jordans in the closet, I'm going to raise him to 4th place. Offended. That's what I am. I'm offended. I'm offended for Thomas. And on the after party, I was happy to hear, after watching the episode, that Thomas said the same thing. He said that he was offended. And he said what I just said, that every day he walks out the house, people see him and treat him as a black man. So to tell me that you're in a relationship with an interracial relationship, go tell that to the streets, Camille. Go tell it to the streets. Let me tell you something. Black people have enough problems in the world dealing with the treatment they get in the world just because they're black. The last thing we need is another black person coming along and invalidating how things happen to us simply sometimes because we are black. And the last thing we need is that invalidation coming from your spouse. And the last person I need that invalidation come from is a spouse that's lighter than you and that has less swag than you. Camille, you are my favorite. But I'm gonna tell you, you say Thomas was in fifth place. I'm gonna have to drop you too. You're not in first place. You're not in second. So I don't want to put you at fifth, but since that's where you put your man, that's where I'm gonna put you. Since that's where you put your man, I want the two of you to be together because I still think you guys are a great couple. I really do. So since you put your man in fifth and fourth place, that's where I'm gonna put you so the two of you can stay together. Because that's what I believe. I think the two of you should stay together. You make a good couple. And thank goodness you do have a man, as you call, that's interracial, because another black man would have told you about yourself. He would have told you something. So you better be glad that Thomas is handling you with his white side and not his black side. Because, girl, you might get cussed out. You might get cussed out in not the English language, but in Ebonics. There you go for some blackness. You might get cussed out in Ebonics. I hope you could understand it though. Do you think you could understand it? Or would you be getting cussed out in Ebonics and thinking it's a compliment because you don't understand Ebonics? You don't speak no Ebonics. Girl, let me get off you. Let me get off. Oh, I don't even know if I can get off you because the whole I don't even know if I can get off of you because the whole episode was about you getting on Thomas. And anyway, once the experts came, she did say that, hey, you know what? We do kiss on the lips. We hold hands. We're very affectionate. We haven't had no intimacy sex-wise, but, it's because he's missing the smoothness, the swag. And, I also want him to put the jokes on the back burner. And now she's picking at stuff. Okay, because the example she gave was that when he did that little corny joke about, I don't want to floss my teeth and the blood spur everywhere. Yeah, that's a yuck factor. I get it. It's an ick factor. Ugh, that's nasty the way you described it. But girl, come on now. That in itself makes your vajayjay go dry? Really? I mean, you might not like what he said, but you act like he's running around telling real corny jokes. She's making up stuff, y'all. She is making up stuff. She's almost like Michelle. Michelle really wanted a black man too. Michelle actually wanted Thomas because Michelle wanted a light-skinned black man that was professional and who had a career track to make good money. That's Thomas. Michelle wanted Thomas. And now you got Camille over here who, what does she want? EKG? Is that who Camille wants? EKG? Girl. But anyway, she starts talking about how he dresses. And, Pastor Cal gets right to it. And he says, do you want to take him shopping, girl? Is that what the problem is? Because Camille, lots of wives do this. This is no big deal. Okay, lots of wives, when they meet their husbands, don't always necessarily like their style. You know what the wives do? Come on, baby, let's go shopping. For his birthday, you buy him something that you like. It's like Pastor Cal said. Pastor Cal said it, which I really liked. He says, I don't know what this thing is about with young people thinking that you're not supposed to change nor influence your partner. You got to change and influence your partner. This idea, accept me as I am. I'm telling everyone, this is the biggest problem in dating. Everybody thinking not only is a person is supposed to accept them as they are, they're thinking that they're supposed to accept another person as they are, and neither party can request any change. That's not true. You can request change. You can ask for change. And also, you are supposed to change. Let's talk about all of it. You're supposed to change. You can request change. You can ask for change. In fact, it's required because there's no way you're going to get married in year 1 and in year 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 are you going to be the same person. So you actually have to get comfortable with change, right? You got to get comfortable with it. So anyway, she ends up going to lunch with her sister and she starts rambling, talking. Camille talks a mile a minute too. She talks a lot. She needs to learn how to censor herself. That's one thing I'm realizing. She monopolizes conversations. When the folks were there, the experts were there, she was monopolizing the conversation with all her grievances and what she doesn't like. The experts had to tell Thomas, you're going to need to start speaking up. And you're going to need to start telling her some things that you don't like about her. Because right now, she got a whole list of things she don't like about you and you haven't said anything. He's so busy asking her for feedback and what do you like. She better be careful because the last time Thomas was here with a woman, I believe, that probably said these things to him or whatever else the case may be, he stayed with her, he cheated on her, and then he left her. So if that's the same outcome you want, Camille, then keep doing what you're doing. But if you want a different outcome, you might need to tone it down a little bit. You don't need to keep saying the same things over and over and over and over again. And I'm with the experts. Thomas needs to speak up. He needs to start saying some things about her that, hey, I want you to change these things too. Maybe one of them is don't talk so much. Because she talks a lot. Even with her sister, she talked a lot. And she said she likes them, though, because they share core values, which is the most important. And she said that she don't like his social scene, girl. And she said that she wants to work on his confidence. Well, how can you work on your confidence when you constantly putting them down? That's not how you build a person's confidence, right? She said she's emotionally safe, but then she said he doesn't have enough confidence. Then how do you build a person's confidence? You don't build a person's confidence by completely telling them all the time that they ain't got no swag. Maybe what you do is you use the opposite. You start doing things, say, hey, baby, ooh, look at you. You looking smooth today. This is looking good. That's how you build confidence. You build a person up. You don't tear them down. You know, well, like I said, I'm agreeing with all y'all. This is some projection. This is some projection that Camille is putting on Thomas when really it's about something completely different. I know she's afraid of having a real light skin, almost barely white kids. I know she's afraid. She's really, really afraid. But girl, if you don't want them, then go on over there and turn them over to Michelle, because you know what? Thomas is the man that Michelle would want. That's who she would want. And, you know, when they went over there and started visiting with Thomas and Michelle, they said, oh, how y'all doing? Michelle goes, not so great. Not so great. I mean, do any of these women really like they men? I know we're going to get to MM. I don't think she really like EKG. And we're starting to see that Carla don't really like Juan either. None of these women like these men. None of them. Michelle is not feeling David at all. As we know, she goes, not so great. And, you know, here's David. I find her really attractive. She's beautiful. You know, now Michelle is starting to say she was hard on herself because she was too vague on looks. She goes, I guess I wasn't specific enough when I told you I wanted a light-skinned black man. I didn't mean I wanted a Puerto Rican who smokes cigarettes and lives in the basement. And can we clear it up about the basement? Everybody who was on the side that the basement wasn't a red flag, raise your hand. As you can see, mine ain't raised. The basement was a red flag. And I said, the only way that basement wasn't going to be a red flag is if he really made it his own, if he was paying a decent amount of rent, if it had a separate entrance. There was going to be a whole lot of criteria for me to know that that basement apartment was going to be okay. He would have had to have some money saved. I would have needed to see a bank account to prove to me that the reason you're here is to save money, and I would have had to see some fruits of that labor. I would have had to see all of that. I wouldn't have been Michelle, who, now that I'm married to him, not ask for these things. I would have asked for them. But once I saw the evidence, then I would have made my conclusion. And I'm going to tell you, seeing that basement apartment this episode put David 2 steps back. 2 steps back. That basement apartment was horrible, y'all. Horrible. Horrible. Because the reason why it was so horrible is not because it looked like a bachelor pad, because like I said, a lot of the men's places might have looked like more masculine. What it looked like a storage basement. Stuff down there being stored that they didn't want up in the top house. And then when he said that the parents come down and wash their clothes, that did it for Michelle. And I was like, I don't know. I think that separates it being a separate apartment. It separates it as being a separate apartment because they got to come down and wash their clothes. That don't count. So, nah, David. You got the keg. You got the dartboard. You got the dining room table that you never really sit at. You don't have no living room for no one to sit down and eat and have dinner. You can't really entertain down there. So I'm with Michelle. Thumbs down. It don't count. We are back to a 36-year-old man living in a basement apartment because he still has not honed in that he has a lot of money saved. All he said is that he paid off his car. You see, if David had money saved for a house, he will be saying it right now. He will be saying, I stayed at home and I was able to save enough money for a down payment. But he doesn't say that. What he says is, I paid off my car. I think what he did was he paid off debt. David had a hard time when he was running that bar, living at the bar, and he lost that bar. He lost a lot of his money, right? And he had to move home to recover. He had to move home to get out of debt. So it's admirable, David. I get it, but you don't have any money saved. You don't. You don't have no money saved, and Michelle knows it. And I'm going to tell you what this is really over with Michelle. Michelle is not really over just he lives in a basement apartment. It's a trigger point for Michelle. And because last week on the after party, Michelle told her story of growing up, and Michelle grew up poor. Michelle grew up really, really poor, and she grew up in a really, really small town, a rural town in, no, she's not from Chicago. I don't even know if she's from Illinois, but she grew up in a rural town where I'm telling you, she said that the town only had, I think, like 3,000 people who lived there. She grew up poor. And what David represents to her is poverty. Poverty. And so what she's so afraid of is being poor again. And that's why she's really afraid of David. She's afraid of David because she's afraid David will be the type of person that will pull her back into poverty. She's afraid that David is like the type of person that, because he's always lived such a cush life, right? And when I say a cush life is when you have the ability to live in your parents' basement apartment and not really have to pay no rent. That means your parents are doing okay. That means your parents aren't dependent on your money. David grew up in a relatively middle-class life. Michelle didn't. And so David, what he does is he likes to coast along the way. His parents gave him a job at the bar. They owned a bar together. His mother is a lawyer. Don't we remember that? Isn't his mother a lawyer, I believe, or something? I don't know. So he grew up in a middle-class life. That's what he grew up in. But Michelle didn't. She grew up poor. And Michelle doesn't want to go back to poverty. That's why she works so hard. And the last thing she wants to be is with a man who doesn't feel like money's important. And David is running around talking about money's not that important. What's important is family. Yeah, to him is his world, because David hasn't needed a lot of money. David hasn't needed a lot of money because he's always had family. So what he tells Michelle is, we don't really need a lot of money as long as we got family. What? To take care of you? To give you a basement apartment for low rent? David, you know what? I wouldn't want to be with David. David's mindset is horrible. You know, like I told y'all, Michelle, if she had just been nice from the beginning, she would have won the entire audience's approval. The only thing that made the audience turn against her was because how nasty she was. But she's standing on solid ground when she says that David is not marriage material. The more you listen to David talk, the more you say he's not marriage material. Okay? When he talked about what's important, he said a roof over your head, mental health, and stability from the family. This is all things he gets from his mother and his father. You see, I get a roof over my head from my parents. Because I was stressed out when I was losing all my money running that bar, my parents allowed me to move home and regain my mental stability because I was stressed. And family is the most important. But David, that's how you are a recipient of all that. How do you provide that for someone? You see, when you get married and you want to have a family, you can't be the one that just is receiving. How are you going to provide this? How are you going to provide a roof over your head for a wife and children? How are you going to bring mental stability to them? How are you going to bring that to them? You're real good at knowing what works great so you could thrive or have a good life, how you can receive it from someone, but you don't really know how to provide that or be the leader of a household. That's a walking red flag. It's a walking red flag. And all this stuff, you know, smoking the cigarettes. He said all of a sudden he's not going to do it anymore. He's not doing it when he's around Michelle, but I guarantee you when he's not there, he's smoking a cigarette. But he said he's willing to change. And that's one of the big differences, how they measure success. And Michelle wants a successful man. She wants a confident man. She wants a man that leads the lifestyle that she does. But then what they did was they rolled the tape on Michelle. They rolled that tape of Dr. Pia says, let me bring some receipts. Dr. Pia brought out the receipts and said, when I sat with you and asked you, would a man be okay that was planning to move out of the house, who had saved enough money for a down payment on a house, would you be open to that? And Michelle said, I would be open to it. She said that in her interview because Dr. Pia said, well, there would be no way I would have put you with David if I hadn't already ran that question by you, and I did. I did run it by you, and you said it was going to be okay. But here's the thing, Dr. Pia. I know she's picking on this basement apartment thing, and it's a really good point to pick on. But where Michelle's biggest problem is with David is even prior to the basement apartment, I'm telling you, he is not the man she wanted. She wanted a black man. And it's just like any woman, when you are attracted to a man physically, sexually, you'll have more chance that you'll overlook some things. Michelle is not overlooking anything with David, which means he didn't even have her at the looks category. She's not attracted to him sexually. So as a result, she's not going to give him even any leash when it comes to this area of the basement apartment or money. And then the second part, Dr. Pia, he didn't live up to what even you promised Michelle, because what you promised Michelle was a man living in his basement apartment, but yet he saved up enough money for a down payment. And then when the two of you get married, he's ready to go out and say, hey, let's go buy this house because I've been living in this basement apartment and I've saved this money. That's not David. David has only lived in the basement apartment for 8 months. 8 months. How much money can you really save in 8 months to satisfy to buy a house? So no, you underdelivered, Dr. Pia. You overpromised and undelivered. You described a man who lived in a basement apartment with his parents, but he was saving enough money to buy a house. We come to find out that David is living in a basement apartment, hasn't saved enough money to buy a house. You overpromised and underdelivered. So I'm going to tell you, as much as it pains me to say, I'm with Michelle on holding her ground on that David is not ready for marriage. He's not. I don't even know if he's got his FICO score back up. Is his credit score good? I don't even know. He said he's paid off his car. Is everything else good? Has he been able to wipe away all those years of bad debts? Because I know he had a lot of years. But Michelle is still, to me, she's really still being too nasty about it. Even if it's a person that you're not attracted to physically, that you don't even know if you still want to stay married to, you should be able to do things with them. She talks about how she's mentally checked out and, but he does do nice things like open doors, all these nice chivalry things. He's always making sure the women have something to drink. And that is, I think, is true. And I think he learned that from his mother. Because like he said, he grew up around all women. He grew up around strong women. And more than likely, I could see him catering to his mother because his mother's almost like his girlfriend. Like I said, he told my mama don't cook for me. I remember that on the wedding day, his brother gave him a gift for his wedding and for his birthday. Because remember, he got married on his birthday. And his brother gave him a variety pack of Cheetos. That tells you everything about David. He's sitting down in that basement apartment, eating hot Cheetos, flaming hot Cheetos, crunchy Cheetos, extra cheesy Cheetos, Cheetos every which kind of way, jalapeno Cheetos. Come on now, David. Yes, I got the image of you. And Michelle keeps saying, she has high expectations for herself to be successful. And really what it is, it's trauma. It's trauma from being so poor she doesn't want to go back there again. And as a result, she lives in fear of going back there again. She does operate out of fear. They did hone in on that she operates out of fear. And she does. And her fear is of being poor again. And she's attaching that to David. She's saying, I can't be the only one trying not to be poor again. And David doesn't seem to be a priority to David. He's not really concerned about not being poor because he's always had a safety net. And what Michelle is saying is, I haven't had a safety net. I've had to be on my own. So I don't like the fact that he doesn't have a lot of drive, because what I'm thinking is, if we ever get in a tough spot in life, can David pull us out of it? He's never done it. He's used to running back to his mommy and daddy. Does he know how to pull himself out of a tough spot without the help of his mom and dad? Or every time we might be in a tough spot as a family, are we going to have to go back to David's family and ask for help? But Michelle goes back and does a little work because she knows she's going to get fined in this experiment. And she says she comes back with a list of things that they could do. I know the producers helped her with the list. They had to help her pass her mental block because she can't even think past anything. I still don't think she's married. She's ready for marriage either. I think she needs a lot of therapy, a lot of therapy. And I think a lot went on in Michelle's childhood. I think not only the childhood went on in Michelle's childhood, something else went on in Michelle's childhood that is affecting the way she relates to people because she's very, very cold. She's not trusting at all. But she came up with a list of things to do, places she could go, concerts, ice cream places, all these other kind of different things. And so this is what they decide they're going to try to do in order to like have more bond. And then she decides David's going to go see her place. Well, she becomes so offended by the fact that David called her place simple. Simple. And she was so offended by it because I think in Michelle's eyes, I've worked so hard for this apartment. And first of all, I want to say this, Michelle. I think when David was saying your place was simple, he didn't mean it in a negative way. He just meant that you're not over the top because your place was simple. And that simple wasn't in a bad way. It was simple. But what Michelle looked at it as is you were putting down her effort, her achievements. And Michelle likes to be known by her achievements, her goals. And because what you did was you called her place simple, you kind of said that, you know what, you didn't really accomplish much. And she was so completely offended by it. Michelle is very untrusting. She's very, very insecure. Let's be honest. And when she told me the story that she's had a dog walker for 9 years, but all she communicates with the dog walker is through writing on a notepad. And in 9 years, she's probably only seen her dog walker 3 times. And one of those times was when the dog walker accidentally walked in on her. I thought that said something. Because I understand that you don't always see your dog walker because that's the purpose of a dog walker, that they come in when you're not there. But to be so comfortable having this type of even a business relationship with a person and never even wanting to take the time to meet them personally more than 1 or 2 times tells me that you're kind of a cold, impersonal person. Like, I don't know, Michelle. Like, isn't there even like a day of Christmas when you can ask your dog walker, hey, can you just come by on this day? I know you're not walking Rocky, but I got a Christmas gift for you that I want to give to you. Nothing like that. I mean, geez, do you tip your dog walker and just leave an envelope on the table? You don't even say, hey, could you just make a special trip over here just today? I got a gift for you. I want to meet you. I want to give you something. I want to say thank you in person. I want to shake your hand. I want to hug you. I want to do something. Michelle is cold-hearted. Cold-hearted. That's why it's so easy for her to treat David the way she's treating David. She's operating out of trauma herself. Like I said, a lot of these couples are projecting other trauma onto their mates. I said Camille is projecting her own rejection from the Black community onto Thomas. We have Michelle over here projecting her poverty mindset. She kind of has a poverty mindset, and a poverty mindset can be a person who not only saves and hoards money, but is a person who's always in fear of being poor again. So Michelle thinks she's striving, but she really still has a poverty mindset. Yeah, I'm not feeling Michelle. She needs therapy. She needs a lot of therapy. And I'm going to tell you someone else who I picked up on who also who's doing some projecting, or not projecting, who's also sort of, I'm starting to see some of her past life come through in the relationship, and that's going to be Carla. Carla is still my girl, y'all. Y'all know I love some Carla. Because I think what Carla is doing is, of all the couples, Carla is trying to do the most work on herself. She is the most aware of who she is. But what I'm starting to see what's happening with Carla and Juan is that her biggest problem with Juan is that, of what my problem is with Juan, and Juan is self-centered. Juan is self-centered, And I do believe that there's a difference between being self-centered and selfish. So self-centeredness means you always think of yourself first. Every moment you frame it in the frame of yourself. You are your own focus, right? And then selfishness is even another level where even once you're aware that you're only thinking about yourself, do you then make room for another person? Juan, I believe, is self-centered and selfish because even once you tell Juan that, hey, you're being self-centered, make room for me, he still doesn't want to do it. And that's what happened here when she asked Juan, hey, when I move into here and I move into your apartment, will you make room for me, my stuff? And what he said was, no, you can just throw out some of your stuff. You could just throw it out. So in that moment, that was a rejection of Carla. And if you see Carla's facial expressions, a lot of times, y'all, you can see sadness behind Carla's eyes. She almost sometimes looks like she wants to cry. She may show happy on the outside, but she's sad on the inside. And this might be what Juan is seeing, the passive aggressiveness from Carla, because Carla hasn't fully shared her feelings of rejection. And I'm going to tell you why I know this goes back to Carla's childhood and her family, because Carla's family didn't come to her wedding. I said it back then that was a red flag for me, that why wouldn't Carla's family come to her wedding? Even if the parents didn't agree with the way she was getting married, they didn't support her daughter. And Carla really tried to brush it off as if it wasn't a big deal to her. But I think it is. I think it's a big deal. I think Carla really wanted to be married. I know people are going to look at Carla like living out of her storage shed as a negative thing, almost equivalent to the fact of what the other guy, David, is doing living in his basement. Like, isn't that worse? And I'm going to say it's not necessarily worse because I think Carla was truthful about her reasoning. See, David lies about living in the basement apartment. He's not really telling the truth that I have financial troubles. I had to move to my parents' home to recover from a financial disaster. That's really the truth. He tries to spin it like it was proactive that he did it. No, it was a reaction to him losing the bar and losing money. That's two different things. But what Carla said is the reason why I'm living in a storage shed is because my lease was up and I didn't want to start another lease because I'm planning on living with my husband and being married. I wanted to move right in. Because what Carla is saying is I wanted to bond right away. Carla is looking for a place to belong. Carla is looking for a place to be loved, to be accepted, and for a man to care for her. And unfortunately, she was paired with the complete opposite man. She was paired with a self-centered, selfish man. And Carla's already experienced that. She's experienced someone not caring for her, not thinking about her feelings, not being mindful. That's what she keeps saying. She wants him to be more mindful of her feelings because let me tell you, those parents were not mindful of her feelings. Those parents, when they decided not to come to her wedding, chose their feelings over hers. She even said that it was her father who didn't want to come, and her mother chose going with her father's feelings over her feelings. So once again, Carla is saying, does anybody care about me? And she's constantly fighting for Juan to care about her, but she feels it. Carla already knows that Juan more than likely is not going to be the one for her, because that's why she came out the gate straight away saying, hey, I kind of want a man who's going to want to take care of me. Everybody's calling Carla a gold digger. I don't think that she's a gold digger. I don't think it's about money because Carla has said it. It's not really about money because I don't need to live in a fancy mansion. Carla says, I've been working since I was 16 years old. I know how to have 3 or 4 jobs. I can get a job. I can make money for myself. But if you look at what Carla is bringing up, she's not bringing up money. What she's bringing up each and every time is feeling cared for. Will you want to take care of me, Juan? It wasn't about a gold-digging woman. It was the feeling of someone will take care of me and will love me, because Carla has never had that. She has never had a person taking care of her. When she's sitting here talking to Juan about bringing things into his house, what he's saying is, will you welcome me into your life? Will you embrace me? Will you take care of me? Things are symbolic. She was using these items, these material items, a plant, a chair, or whatever, as a symbol of saying, will you embrace this item of me, which means now you'll embrace me into your home. And the answer that Juan gave her was horrendous. He said, no, you're going to have to throw your stuff out because there's not too much stuff here that I want to get rid of. She said, it's important for you to integrate my things, because what she's saying is it's important for you to integrate me into your life. She said at the same time when he was off with David, you're not integrating me. Juan told her, I forgot about you. This is the theme. Carla's not feeling safe. She's not feeling secure. She's not feeling cared for. She's not being thought about. And she was paired with a man who is self-centered and selfish. And he is triggering Carla. And the way that Carla now is reacting is to be passive aggressive. Passive aggressive. And she's trying to pretend like it's not a big deal, but it is a big deal. So that's why she's coming off on withholding. That's what Pepper called it. Dr. Pepper called it. What Carla is doing in the clinical world is called withholding, because what she's seeing is, I can't keep pouring into a person who I already recognize doesn't want to pour into me. And so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to start withholding, because what I don't want to be in a situation where I'm giving and giving and giving and they're not giving. And Carla is going into the withholding because she's been here before. She said her ex-boyfriend was this. She said she moved in with her ex-boyfriend, but yet he didn't really accept her things, accept any parts of her. This is not going to work. It's not going to work because Carla is going to increasingly become feeling unsettled, not feeling good in the relationship. And Juan, even when you tell Juan about what he does wrong, he doesn't correct himself. He sits and acts like he acts like he gets it, but he actually doesn't change his behavior. So just like on that last episode when Carla said, you went off with David, you did this, you said it was the best time, you forgot about me. What Juan does is he gives lip service and he says, oh yeah, that was rude of what I said, but he never said the words, I'm sorry. Now we have him here telling Carla about moving in and all this other kind of stuff, but he doesn't then correct it and say, you know what? Yeah, you know what? You can bring your things. He doesn't change. He says, oh yeah, I guess I did do that, but he doesn't really change his position. He still marches on with the same selfish behavior. Juan is not looking to change. And the clue that we had about who Juan was came from his daddy. If y'all remember, when his daddy was at the wedding, his daddy asked Carla, what do you do for a living? And how are you going to be here to help Juan? Okay, so this part about Juan feeling as if this woman should be all about him probably came from his childhood, because you got it from that father. That father was vetting Carla about how much money do you make, because you're going to need to contribute some money. And then also, what else are you going to do for Juan? And I was like, wait a minute, she got to give money and help Juan with his business? Why is this coming from this daddy that told you it's fine? That's actually what Juan expects. 50-50, move into his apartment. He gets to keep all his stuff. He's never going to want to support you, even if he has enough money. Even if his ad business blows up, he's never going to want to care for you, take care of you. He's always going to be self-centered and selfish. Run, Carla, run. I'm Team Carla. I'm still Team Carla. I know a lot of people are going to be on her this episode about her having a storage shed. I know they are. Too bad. I'm Team Carla. Because I don't like to just know what people say. I like to see what they do, and I like to understand why they do it. And when I listen to Carla's story, I think what Carla was trying to do was set up the life she wanted, which was to be with her husband, to say yes after decision day. I think Carla was going in with a really, really positive mindset, because I think that's how she is. I think Carla likes to lead with energy, positive affirmations. Some people would have said, well, no, I'm not going to give up my apartment. I'm going to still do a month to month or something, even if I have to pay extra money, because what if the marriage doesn't work out? But what I know about Carla is Carla tries to think positive. She tries to act like it's going to be okay. So she probably said, I don't want to think negatively like it's not going to work out. I'm going to think positively. And as a result, I'm going to put my actions behind my thinking. So yeah, I'm going to give up my apartment. I'm going to make room for this marriage in my life, because I think it's going to happen. It's the same way she says she thinks about money. I'm not going to care about the money because I know money comes to me. I'm not going to let money make me. I'm going to make the money. Right? And I know we saw that scene coming up. I don't know where it's going to be, where she walks in and tells Juan that she quit her job. And I know y'all going to say, look at Carla, she's a gold digger. But I don't know. I'm going to wait. I'm really going to wait, because I think that's still within the same vein of who I think Carla is. And Carla is going to be the type of person who says, I make enough money to care for myself. I don't need you to take care of myself. So if I got 3 jobs and I want to quit one of them, that's up to me. That's up to me. But we'll see. We shall see. I'll hold my complete judgment until then. But right now, Team Carla, I'm with you, Carla. Last week, Carla, we was on the petty train together. This week, we're not on the petty train no more. I do see what you're suffering from. You need a little bit of therapy on it. You're going to need more than the little sound things. You're going to need some therapy on it. But I'm still with you, girl, because I'm not with Juan. That's who I'm not with. I'm not with no Juan. And the other person I'm not with is EKG. EKG. I can't wait till next week because next week it looks good. Finally, somebody going to call EKG on his bull crap. And it looks like EKG is about to get a little bit more assertive and aggressive with MM, because what he said was he was feeling a little bit bad about that apartment that MM got, because she got 2 levels. She got a fabulous view, and her place is the size of 5 of EKG's apartments. But when they woke up, EKG was doing his same old stuff. Stay on your side of the bed. Don't come on my side of the bed. I don't like him. I don't like him. And like we know about EKG, he always wants to look good. He's the man that's told us he's written a whole book of poems for his wife, and we have not seen him give one to MM. So let me get this straight. You've written a whole book of poems. You haven't given one of them to, not one, to MM. We now come to your apartment. You told us you're a musician, you're an artist, you're a writer, you're a singer, you're all these things. She asked you to play something on the guitar or sing something, and you don't want to do it. Okay. So you just a whole lot of talk, no action, EKG. That's what you are. Like we said, fake from the beginning. A whole lot of talking, 0 action, because we ain't got no song. We ain't got no guitar playing, not really. You haven't delivered no poetry, nothing. And then you start talking about MM later on that you want her to loosen up and you want to see more of her artistry, because I guess you're an artist. We haven't seen none of your art, EKG. We see some guitars sitting in the stand. You did a few strumming, but you didn't play no full song. You ain't sung no full song. You ain't sang. You ain't played. You ain't delivered no poetry. Right now, EKG, you're a whole lot of talk and a little bit of action. But then you want to tell MM she's too rigid. I need to see more of her artistry. He just likes to be big man on campus. So then when they get ready to go to his apartment, he's like, I want you to have really low expectations about what you're going to see. But honestly, y'all, I think what he was expecting her to be impressed, because EKG actually had a nice view. He actually had a nice view. So when KG was saying, I live a simple life, EKG was actually proud of his apartment. I want everyone to see that. He was proud of his apartment. It wasn't that what he was saying in terms of low expectations. Really what he wanted her to do was have high expectations. But the way when EKG likes to brag, he goes around the block. He sets up his bragging. That's why he always asks her questions so that she can answer, and then he can give his answer, because he wants that moment to brag. And what he was setting up in this apartment viewing was, I want to set your expectations low so that when you walk into this apartment and you see this beautiful view I have, you'll actually be impressed. You see, you got to really know who EKG is. He's an imposter. So whatever he says up front, just know it's not the truth. Know that the truth is the opposite. And once you start knowing that the truth is the opposite, you'll get who he is. So he was expecting MM to come into his apartment and be impressed by his view, because his view was very nice. He was expecting MM to walk into his apartment and be impressed by all of his musical items and how neat his apartment was, because his apartment was neat. It was neat. But then what happened was, when he went back to her apartment and she didn't brag at all, she didn't set up anything, he gets to the apartment and he goes, damn, she beat me. She beat me. She beat me. And all of a sudden, now he got a problem with MM. This is about to usher in the nastiness of EKG. All these episodes, we've been saying how EKG's fake. He's trying to pretend like he likes her. He doesn't like her. And they sit over here, don't talk about anything. They act like it's rose petals in this relationship, and it's not. I'm going to tell you right now that now the nasty side of EKG is about to come out. The competitive side is about to come out, because when he saw that apartment, he said, I'm offended. I call this episode Offended. EKG's offended by the fabulousness of MM's apartment. And now he's going to start being nasty to her, because he's going to have to start putting her down, because in a lot of ways he feels put down by that apartment. Okay. Because he was sitting up here talking about he wants to see more of the artistry of MM. This is what he tells Pastor Cal. I want to see her loosen up. I want to see her be more free-flowing. She's so mechanical. But when he went to her apartment and she had a karaoke machine and she talked about how she loves to sing and do karaoke, you would think he'd be happy about that, right? That's fun. That's loose. That's spontaneous to do karaoke. A lot of people don't feel comfortable doing karaoke. So that tells you she knows how to good time. She knows how to loosen up. She has it in her house. She does it all the time. But what did EKG look at that opportunity to do? To take the mic, turn it on for himself, and then put her down for having it in the house. He's so destructive. He's so destructive. Then he walking around talking about how many TVs you got. She says 4. He says, oh, I feel depressed now. Next thing you know what he's going to start talking about? I'm not into material things. That's going to come out his mouth real soon. Oh, I'm not really into material things, and I don't watch a lot of TV. He's going to find a way to put down MM stuff. I'm telling you, he's going to find a way to put her down and say, I'm not a person. I don't need 4 TVs. I don't really watch TV. I love doing other things like being out in the culture. He's going to turn it around. Then he's going to say something like, oh, I'm not really into money. That's not what's important in life. Money's not what's important in life. What's important in life is going to be all this other stuff over here. He going to pull a David, talk about the only thing that's important is family. I see it coming already. I see it coming already. MM is saying, they asked them, have you guys started talking about anything about future goals, finances, children? And did you see EKG's eyes get big when they mentioned finances? Because he don't want to mention his finances. They said, yeah, we have talked about children, but we haven't really talked about the future goals of the relationship. That's because they don't see no future. EKG don't see no future. He's not going to say yes to this woman. And MM is starting to realize that she's not going to be able to say yes to him either. Because MM is starting to say, we really don't talk about a lot of things. Because what she's saying is, I keep asking you, what do you want from your wife intentionally? And she never gets an answer because he's not looking at you as a future wife. He's really on this show to promote himself. He's not really on here to form a marriage. He's on this show to promote himself, to make himself seem big. And when you showed him this apartment, EKG, what you did was you made him smaller. Now he's going to be mad. He's going to be mad. They're running around telling Pastor Cal that, yeah, we're real physical. We hold hands, we touch. And what Pastor Cal said is, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't believe it. I hear what y'all are saying, but I don't see it. I don't feel no chemistry. I don't feel that energy when I'm sitting here next to you, even when you're on the couch. You're not even touching on the couch. So Pastor Cal picked up on the vibes, right? EKG said he goes to bed at 9 o'clock so that he can get up at 5 o'clock and go to the gym. That's what he said. And he goes to bed at 9 o'clock because he don't really want to talk to MM. Because what time is MM getting home? She running her own practice. MM probably ain't getting home at 4 o'clock. What time our office stay open to? At least 5 or 6. So what time she getting home? 7. So he's in bed at 9 o'clock. That's what you do when you've been married for 25 years. You a whole newlywed couple. You should be up talking. You should be getting to know each other. You in the bed at 9 o'clock in the early stages of your marriage. Now, me and my husband, shoot, yeah, we sure do be in bed by 9 o'clock, but But as a newlywed, a brand new couple, that's a bad sign. That's a bad, bad sign. And the last couple we want to talk about is Madison and Allen. And we had to pick up where Madison walked out the house, and come to find out, she never came back. She texted around 1:30 talking about she just gonna stay at home. She had to help a friend. That is the weakest excuse. She had to help a friend, girl. So she went on back home. She finally comes back in the morning, and Allen says, "Hey, you want to go take a ride in the hoopty?" And she's like, "A hoopty? What is that?" Ooh, Allen and his Allenisms, his corny jokes. Girl, you ain't never heard of the word hoopty? You ain't never heard of the hoopty? Well, maybe Allen got more swag than Thomas does. Maybe he got more swag because hoopty, girl, is that a hood term? I thought people knew what hoopty was. I didn't know it was I didn't know it was not well known what it was. But he was really preparing her because he wanted her to be impressed by his car. He was downplaying it so that way she could get out there and be impressed by his car. And guess what? She was impressed. Madison became more impressed with Allen once she saw his car and once she saw where he lived. She became more impressed. And which tells you how shallow Madison is. Madison's very, very shallow, which is why we know why the men she chooses. She chooses men based on looks and their possessions. And prior to Madison being able to see Allen's car, which I think that was the Jaguar, the F-Type. I think that's what he's driving. She was impressed with that, and she was impressed with his home. Because remember, he told us he bought a house and he gutted it. Whether I don't know if it's a condo or a house, he gutted it and redid it. And all of a sudden now, Madison is deciding, well, maybe I ought to give this relationship a chance. She's so shallow. She's so shallow. But they got back to his apartment, and she liked it. She looked around and looked good. And I guess out of all the men's apartments so far, his is the best. Even what's his name? Thomas had a hot water heater in his closet. I ain't never seen that. What's going on in Chicago? Y'all got hot water heaters in your wardrobe closets? That was so weird. But anyway, they get in his car, and Allen gets those RPMs going, vroom, 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 and take it off real fast to show his girl, look, girl, I got a little bit of swag to me. Even though I want to thug it out with this gold chain and these crazy looks, I got a nice car and I showed you my nice house. And now all of a sudden Madison's saying, oh, I'm starting to appreciate Allen a lot more. But they got some hills to climb. She tells the experts that she's missing the romantic and physical chemistry. And Dr. Pepper told her something real good. She said, you know what? You can't keep trying to replicate the past when the past didn't work. Because that's what Madison is trying to do. Madison is still trying to date the buff guy from the gym that has the status of Allen, the possessions of Allen, but she wants this buff guy from the gym that is more, I don't know, probably with some tattoos and everything else. And Dr. Pepper said, those people are hot dates, but they're not marriage material. I thought you came on here to be married. No, Madison wants to be married, but she still want to be married to that guy. Yeah. That's why I couldn't be no matchmaker, because people really think you a genie people really think you a magician. They really don't want to face reality. They just want you to make their dream, their fantasy come true. They don't really look at you as being a matchmaker. They look at you as being a magician. And that's who Madison wants, a magician. And so they give her the speech too. People are supposed to change. And Allen had the most grown up, he expects to change. He has the most grown up response to this, saying, you're supposed to want to change for your spouse. That's what it's about when two people come together. And he said he's already started going to the gym. He's going 4 times. He went 4 times in 3 days. 4 times in 3 days. And guess what? Madison didn't even notice. She didn't even notice that her own husband had gone to the gym 4 times in 3 days. That tells you who Madison is. She don't care because she does not like the way he looks. The only time Madison's going to notice Allen is after he's worked out for a long time and all of a sudden he's buffed. She don't even see her man right now. She see that fancy car, she see that apartment, but she don't see him. She's shallow. Very, very shallow. And this dog of Allen's ain't gonna help the relationship because this dog of Allen is off the chain. Off the chain. He ain't got no home training, Allen. No home training. You need to take him to Caesar, the dog whisperer. This dog is off the chain. And Madison was on the after party. She said, we can't even get through no conversation without this dog, Luffy, acting crazy. Luffy, loopy, goofy. That dog is goofy. Humping pillows, jumping on couches. Ugh. People, if you're going to have a dog and then you're going to try to get married to someone, make sure your dog is home trained. Make sure he's home trained. I know who else had a pet this season. Madison had not Madison. Michelle had a cat. And when David came to her apartment, the cat went right on over there to David and was purring and everything. And mean old Michelle goes, ugh, she's so needy. Michelle want to be so independent with not a caring bone in her body. She was even mad at the cat from being so needy. She was mad at the cat for going up under David and purring because she don't want to do it. Michelle got issues. Michelle got issues. But, you know, Madison and Allen had a long conversation about religion, raising their kids religious. But they both agreed that we're not going to raise them religious. We're not going to send them to, you know, religious schools, but we will baptize them. Okay, people. But we'll let them make their own decisions. Hey, I'm not going to get into it. Whatever. I'm not going to raise them religious, but I'm going to baptize them. Okay. Hey, do what you want, people. Do what you want. But anyway, that's all I got for Married at First Sight. Let me know what y'all think down in the comments, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.